I'm here with Peter Kariuki and Nash, founders of SafeMotos. Thank you for taking time to speak with Apps Africa. Can you tell me a little bit more about SafeMotos and what you guys are doing in Rwanda?
Sure. So what SafeMotos is addressing is that right now on the continent of Africa, the second greatest killer is actually traffic accidents. And in East Africa, where Peter and I are based from, the leading cause of traffic accidents is motorcycle taxis. A lot of people outside of Africa aren't aware of motorcycle taxis, but they're easily the most popular way in markets like Kenya, like Rwanda, like Uganda, to get from point A to point B. But the issue is that they're very, very dangerous. And what we're looking at is right now, when you want a motorcycle taxi, it's like rolling the dice. You just choose the first driver who comes up. You have no idea if it's his first day on the job or if he's a professional. So what Peter has built is a smartphone application that the drivers use, which makes use of the smartphone's gyroscopes, accelerometers, and GPS to be able to give us data actually very similar to the insurance companies use on their black boxes, so that we know if a driver is driving too fast, if he's turning very wildly, if he's braking all the time. And then we have a customer-facing smartphone application based on Uber, which connects the customer to drivers that they know is safer.
So you mentioned it's a huge problem. How many lives do you think this can save?
The funny thing is that every day 612 people die on the roads, with only 16% of the people dying there. And the biggest thing, the biggest killer of this is because there's lots of motorcycle taxis which weave through the traffic. You can see them, and when you're when you're on a motorcycle taxi, there is no safety belt. And we believe that adding added safety functionality to that can lead to at least additional lives saved.
Like, at the end of the day, we're not saying that we can make motorcycle taxis safe. What we're looking at is really thinking of this as an industry very much like the car industry in the 1940s and 50s, where you're having issues of drivers getting impaled by the steering column. What we'd like to see is a push towards similar functionalities where you can't have airbags and seatbelts on a motorcycle taxi, but at least you can work on decreasing the risk. It would be great to be able to have an exact number for you, but unfortunately, this is actually a really misunderstood area. We were giving a talk at the University of Birmingham yesterday, and the academics were asking us, how can academia actually benefit this? And the fact is that while we can identify it's a huge issue, there's just so little research actually confronting it head on. So while we know it will save lives, because it's from such a low base of safety regulation, to actually formalize that is something we'd love to be able to do, but just aren't quite capable yet of.
Right, and how does the business model work around SafeMotos?
So right now what we're trying to make the business model based on is actually what the habits are on the ground. So right now we're using a subscription model where the drivers are our customers, and they're paying the equivalent of a single ride for unlimited one-day access to our system. And then the end users, the actual motorcycle riders, then pay the drivers.
I know you've already run a pilot in Rwanda. What's the reception been to the pilot?
So we started doing a pilot since mid-March, and we started with our close friends of circles. And the biggest goal was to have the drivers be able to interpret the instructions and be able to follow through a ride. And we are amazed that the drivers are able to complete most of the rides, and they're able to connect the customers and find them and take them to the ride, which is a really big deal, because most of these drivers were deemed illiterate. But then we're surprised with how fast they're able to catch up and able to get online onto the system.
And what's the future for SafeMotos? I mean, what do you need to do now to get to market and get launched?
I mean, I believe the future for SafeMotos for the next year is about discipline. While we can really get lost in the opportunities of the future of, big markets like Nigeria or similar industries like the insurance companies, what we want to do is focus on Rwanda and show that there is a business model here that works to get to proof of concept and to make something that customers love and the riders themselves love. If we can make this to be something where we're having a positive customer user experience, then we can put this in a box and bring it to other markets. I think the sky's the limit. Just in 7 different markets across the continent of Africa, the World Health Organization estimates that there's over 400,000 motorcycle taxis. Using our current subscription model, that would be a total available market of over $150 million a year. And that's just 7 markets. But you gotta do step 1 before you do step 2. And we're going to be making Rwanda a success before we start getting ambitious.
So, based in Rwanda, 2 budding entrepreneurs, how is it doing business in Rwanda?
We love Rwanda. I think of all the places in Africa, it's the easiest place to start, just because there is one circle, especially of technical people, and you get to rub shoulders with a lot of people, and there's a lot of people going through doing cool projects, and so we get a lot of mentorship, you get a lot of exposure, and it's just so easy to get traction because people love encouraging things. Like when you start a new project, people will do whatever they can to support you, which is a really amazing thing.
When we talk about Rwanda, we always get this feedback. Well, why not Nigeria? Why not Kenya? Why not India? Why not Indonesia? And my feedback is always, well, those are markets, but you don't start a disruptive, innovative venture in a full market. Where you start is in a place where you can actually get your first customer, show that the concept works. And Rwanda, in my opinion, is the greatest platform on the continent of Africa for actually getting something off the ground. It's the 2nd least corrupt country on the continent after South Africa, highest ease of doing business. Myself, I'm there in an ICT entrepreneur residency. They just let me be in the country for 2 years working because I write a letter to the ministry. We have free office space at the Local Knowledge Lab, K-Lab. It's got great rule of law, it's livable. It's a place where I describe it as the test kitchen for Africa. It's the place where you can make these innovative ideas, you can test them out without having to deal with the slowness and difficulties of these other markets, and then when you actually figure out your business model, then you bring it to a bigger market.
And you're Canadian, Nash. What's your advice to other entrepreneurs who are looking to enter Africa? What top tips would you give them if they've got an idea for Africa? What should they do?
In my opinion, I believe that it's so wonderful to see that there's so much enthusiasm around Africa right now from the international community. But I find that typically people are either in one side of 2 different camps. Either they're thinking that this is the next China, where all the business opportunity is, or they're idealists who are thinking that they're going to do something that changes the world that has no business model. I would say that if you're going to be successful in Africa, you need to have a hybrid of the 2. Because if you're just coming here from a business standpoint, at this current moment, it's a pretty hard place. It's tough to crack. There's a lot of barriers against you, and I don't think you need to look at too many statistics of success rates to realize that this is a place where success is not guaranteed. On the other side, with maybe too much optimism, I think that there's been a curse in Africa of too many people trying to come for doing the good things and taking grants and going and creating something that is great on paper but has no sustainability and no real business plan around it. And I think, for one, this is a bad use of funds that could go to something that would have a greater impact, as well as something that I think is actually quite condescending, where Africa is a market. There's a lot of opportunities to be had in Africa, and a good idea should be able to make money because that's where the best ideas actually resonate with.
Great. Well, thank you guys very much for taking the time to speak at Apps Africa, and we wish SafeMotos all the best for the future.
Thank you, Andrew.